The perfect murder doesn't leave fingerprints. It leaves thank you notes. The secret nobody tells you about hero worship is that it's just homicide with better marketing. Death by 1,000 compliments. Graz, Austria, 1963. Arnold watches Reg Park in some shit-tier Hercules movie. The kind where the sword fights look choreographed by drunk janitors. Doesn't matter. The muscles are real. The power's real. Reg Park isn't just a body. He's an equation solved. The real thing. English strongman. Had the titles. Had the money. Had everything Arnold wanted to steal. We pretend desire is complicated. It isn't. Desire is just the empty space around what's missing. Arnold wants what Park represents. A world where sons eclipse fathers, where approval isn't begged for but seized, where the vocabulary of power is written in sinew and bone, rather than words and disappointment. The real bodybuilding happens in the mind, not sculpting muscle, sculpting identity, carving yourself into someone else's shape, then hollowing them out, wearing them like a suit. You've seen it in nature documentaries, the way certain parasites don't just feed on their hosts. They hijack their nervous systems, rewire their brains, make them do things against their own self-interest, make them protect their parasite, make them thank their parasite. That's Arnold and Reg. The bedroom walls of teenage boys are billboards advertising what they want to fuck. Arnold's walls are crime scene photos, premeditated evidence, strategy boards. Every photo of Reg, flexing, posing, smiling, isn't decoration. It's data, not lust, study. Arnold thought Steve Reeves too pretty, too refined, too handsome, too perfect. Park had rawness, edge, fundamental force. Translation: Reeves was art, Park was a mirror. The difference between something you hang on a wall and something you become. We don't follow stars we can't recognize. We follow future versions of ourselves we're not brave enough to claim yet. The plan forms early. Study Park, learn Park, become Park, replace Park. Alligators don't hide in water because they're shy. The lion doesn't respect the gazelle by giving it a head start. Predators don't rush. They assess. They circle. Patience isn't a virtue. It's a weapon you don't have to clean afterward. Approach too soon, you're nobody. Approach too late, you've missed your window. Approach at the perfect moment. You're not the student, you're the succession plan. Arnold trains, wins local contests. When he finally makes contact with Park, it isn't as a drooling fan but as a colleague in waiting, a mirror image separated only by time. The naked economics of human interaction, the cold mathematics of value exchange. Every predator needs a useful idiot, someone to make the introduction, someone wearing a name tag that says fate, when really it should say accomplice. For Arnold, this was Wag Bennett. Wag Bennett, gym owner, contest promoter, professional bloodhound for the next big thing. The kind of man who makes his living from human arbitrage and the endless cycle of replacement. Buy low, sell high, careers built, careers buried. Reg, you have to meet this kid from Austria. You've heard that sound before. The quiet click of the trap closing, the soft hiss of gas being turned on, the funeral arrangements set in motion. January 1967, London, some piss-stinking gym. Arnold circles Park like a junkie who just found his dealer. He's English refugee camp basic, eyes that speak fluent predator. They scan, they measure, They catalogue weakness. I had this foolish self-conscious smile on my face, almost like when a girl has a crush on a boy and doesn't know what to say. Crush. From the old French croisseur, to break, to smash, to destroy completely. Park barely notices him. Goes back to his weights. A half-assed wave. The dismissive look you give a waiter bringing water you didn't ask for. First rule of hunting humans. When meeting your prey, let them think you're harmless. By the time their hands connect, Park's already primed to see himself in the younger man. Already picturing his own legacy continued through this Austrian kid with the unpronounceable name and the cartoon proportions. The perfect crime begins with the victim's enthusiastic consent, with the victim seeing his own immortality in your eyes, not realizing he's looking at his replacement. Reg Park had no idea he'd just selected his own assassin, and the assassin was smiling. The tragedy of decency is how easily it's weaponized. Park, genuinely kind, generous, invites Arnold to join him on tour. 10 days of exhibitions across England. Called him the future of bodybuilding, the next Mr. Universe. A magical transference, Arnold called their tour together, a clinical term for identity theft, for spiritual vampirism. I consider myself a sponge, he says. The perfect metaphor. A sponge exists without structure until it fills with what surrounds it, becomes heavy with stolen substance. A thief made of holes. Those 10 days touring with Park are Arnold's masterclass in professional obsolescence. Park teaches him everything. How to pose, how to work crowds, how to negotiate contracts, how to leverage muscle for money. More importantly, Park reveals every psychological vulnerability, his generosity, his pride in mentoring, his assumption of loyalty, the sucker's trinity. Arnold learns fast. When someone studies you with that much intensity, they're not admiring the painting, they're casing the museum. The most elegant con in this entire heist? Arnold asking to train with Park in South Africa. I'll come, Arnold said, but only if I win Mr. Universe first. Condition, stipulation, control, the parasite dictating terms to the host, the tumor negotiating with the body, the assassin naming his price to the target. Park smiled, clapped him on the back, the invisible transfer of power. December 1967. Victory announced, cable sent, promise called in. Arnold flies to Africa like a missile seeking its target. Christmas in Johannesburg with the Parks, with the fucking Hallmark card come to life. 6 weeks in the home of your target. 6 weeks eating his food. 6 weeks sleeping under his roof. 6 weeks watching him brush his teeth, butter his toast, fuck his wife, count his money. Call it a visit if you want. Reality called it reconnaissance. A home invasion disguised as a homestay. Single white female with barbells. People talk about hunger for fame, for money, for success. That's bullshit. Surface noise. The real hunger burrows deeper. The need for validation, for family, for a father who doesn't think you're a waste of fucking oxygen. The body's just scar tissue growing around childhood wounds. 40-year-old Park still had the look, like a restored classic car. Beautiful, vintage, one breakdown away from the junkyard. They walked the beach together, not father and son, the original and the counterfeit, the blueprint and the building replacing it. We would sit down to dinner in a very civilized way, Park says. Civilized. As if we aren't just all monkeys who learn to use forks and say please. He wasn't accustomed to that. Damage is a grown man astonished by basic human kindness. His father was always putting Arnold down. The most efficient way to build a body: tear muscle fibers apart, let them heal stronger. The most efficient way to destroy a person: tear confidence apart, never let it heal. Repeat until empathy becomes optional. You think Arnold was counting sets and reps? He was counting square footage, measuring the depth of Park's swimming pool, memorizing the brand of toilet paper, cataloguing furniture, creating the exact blueprint of what success should taste, smell, and cost like. The good life on display. Arnold absorbs it all, files it under things to steal. Park's marriage? Not a relationship, a research paper. How does the alpha male domesticate his mate? What's the exact ratio of dominance to tenderness? What's the thread count on ambition's bed sheets? The most perfect marriage, Arnold says. The sort of relationship where the female doesn't compete with the man. He's the boss, and that's the way it is. Years later, Arnold would learn to repackage these beliefs under layers of politically acceptable language, like makeup covering bruises. Christmas Day. Arnold brings no gifts wrapped in paper, just dreams typed on a page, a manifesto, a declaration of war disguised as career plans. Arnold shows the Parks. I want to win the Mr. Universe many times like Reg. I want to go into films like Reg. I want to be a billionaire. And then I want to go into politics. Park sees ambition. What he's actually seeing is plagiarism, his own biography presented back to him as a blueprint. But this isn't just ambition, it's reverse engineering, the methodical disassembly of success into its constituent parts. Park beams with paternal pride, a man reading his obituary, thinking it's a love letter. What he couldn't see: Arnold isn't following footprints, he's erasing them. 3 years pass. Arnold wins titles, gets stronger, gets hungrier, gets ready. 1970 London. The warfare goes kinetic. Disinformation campaigns, psyops, the setup. Park, the aging lion, dragged from his comfortable den, 5 years rusty. Wag Bennett, still useful, still an idiot, shows Park old photos of Arnold looking soft, unimpressive. Make the target overconfident, the bear playing dead until the hunter leans in for a closer look. Arnold ghosts Park before the 1970 contest, the psychological equivalent of cutting phone lines before the home invasion. September 1970 London. Nab a Mr. Universe. Arnold's 23, Park's 42. 2 decades of difference, a biological chasm. Park walks in thinking comeback. Arnold walks in thinking cremation. Backstage smells like desperation, drugs, and dreams gone rancid. Park pumps frantically like a man trying to outrun his expiration date. Veins map across his skin like roads to destinations that no longer exist. Your body is 70% water until you're 40, then it's 70% regret. Arnold lounges in street clothes, smoking, laughing, unzipped, unbothered. One man preparing for battle, the other man knowing the war ended years ago. Predators don't pace, they don't rehearse the kill, they just wait. People think competition happens on stage under lights. That's just the funeral procession. The real killing happens in the shadows, in the mind, in the way confidence curdles into doubt. Every secret Park shared, every insecurity confessed, every training method revealed. Just bullets Arnold collected in 3 years of study, waiting for this moment to load the gun. When Park finally fractures, "Arnold, will you stop the bullshit until after the contest?" His voice cracks. The acoustic signature of structural failure. The sound of psychological load-bearing beams collapsing. Then comes Arnold's kill shot. Not a punch. Not an insult. Just 2 words. What contest? The verbal equivalent of a bullet between the eyes. The emotional equivalent of a coroner's report. What contest? Said with indifference. Not hatred. Hatred at least confirms you exist. Indifference erases you from the present moment, from the universe itself. Every minute Park spent preparing, retroactively transformed from strategy to delusion, from competition to comedy. Park realizes too late. When a younger, stronger version of yourself looks through you instead of at you, you're already a ghost, already a memory, already past tense. The beautiful thing about Park, the tragic, stupid, decent thing, is what he does after the judges confirm what everyone already knows. He doesn't rage, doesn't accuse, doesn't even sulk. He smiles, shakes Arnold's hand, says, "You deserve to win." He thanks his executioner for a clean kill. Perfect crimes end with the victim praising the murderer's technique. Arnold knew this would happen, knew Park's decency would trap him, knew his mentor would play his final role perfectly. The gracious loser, the proud teacher, the obsolete prototype ready for the scrap heap. The fatal flaw of good people. They follow scripts even as the theatre burns around them. They keep their dignity even as their relevance disintegrates. Arnold plays magnanimous, generous to those who acknowledge his superiority. Translation: he doesn't dance on graves, doesn't need to. Graves dance for him. In bodybuilding, there's a technique called stripping. You lift until muscle failure, reduce the weight, then immediately continue. No rest, no recovery, just progressive destruction of muscle fibre until nothing functional remains. Arnold applies this technique to human relationships. Push to failure, strip away dignity, continue until collapse. Park didn't just lose, he liquefied, became Arnold's protein shake, nutritional support for someone else's growth. After the slaughter, the friendship resumes. Park remembers only the good times. If you asked Arnold about this, he'd probably shrug off the destruction as a necessary cost of doing business in the empire of ambition. Nothing personal, just pattern recognition. The strong devour the weak. The truly great build their empires on the bones of their heroes, not out of malice, out of necessity, out of the cold understanding that the universe rewards only those willing to take everything. Evolution's dirty secret. Not survival of the fittest, just predators wearing their prey's skin, getting better at the costume each time. Nature's most efficient recycling program. Turn yesterday into fuel for tomorrow. And tomorrow never apologizes to yesterday. Tomorrow just eats, grows, and forgets.
Steve Reeves was the greatest of all time because of the kind of the beauty he had on the body and all that stuff. So I think everyone will have a different opinion on that.